We all have the ability to move forward, regardless of what our past was, whether it was good or it was bad. You know, sometimes people get hung up on the past because it was better than what they're experiencing now. But we all have the ability to move forward. We can steer our lives in whichever direction we choose, regardless of where we came from. I am absolutely certain about that because I was able to do it. And so many other people, there's so many examples out there of people who have been able to do that. And it just depends on, it's not what was in your past, okay? Of course, some people have had it a lot worse than others. But regardless of what that was, there is always something in our past that if we look at it from a different perspective, we can use certain tools, certain things that we learned in our past to help us in our present and to propel us forward in whichever direction we have chosen. It just depends on how you look at it. There's no reason why you need to linger in the outskirts of your life, you know, and just missing out on all the opportunities that life has to offer because you're caught up in your past. If you choose to look at your life and your past from a different point of view, you will find that there's a lot of usefulness in it. You think about some of the really painful or negative experiences that you have had in your past and try to think about what you learned from them. There's always something. You know, I have a friend that when she was young, she didn't grow up in a happy family. I mean, her family was dysfunctional, like many others. And in her particular case, her parents were not able to make ends meet. They were never able to make ends meet. And it wasn't because they couldn't, it was more because they didn't really want to. So, you know, my friend was always, since she was young, you know, she always had to answer phone calls from bill collectors. Day and night, bill collectors calling the house, looking for payment. So finally, when she was about 15 years old, she decided that she wanted to do something about it because she was tired of answering these phone calls. So she took it upon herself to get a job. And she found a job as a salesperson, as a shoe salesperson at her local mall. And she was only 15 years old, but she wanted to be able to help her mom and dad pay the bills. And it couldn't have been fun for her. Now imagine at that age, most of the kids are, you know, at the mall with their friends. Back in those days, they were probably not playing video games, but they were doing other things and not working. And if there were kids working, they were probably, you know, keeping the money for themselves, maybe to buy a car. But my friend, she couldn't even keep her money for her to herself. She had to give it to her dad. So that had to be really hard for her. You know, work after school, after homework, work on the weekends. She worked 6 days a week to help pay the bills. But in the process of working as a shoe salesperson, which she did for years into her 20s, she was able to develop the skills of a phenomenal salesperson. Through that negative experience, for what to her was a negative experience, she was able to develop the ability of a phenomenal salesperson, which served her well. It propelled her. And eventually she became the vice president of Disney Radio. Now, you know, she went through some stuff because she obviously had negative experiences in her past of her childhood. At one point, she was suicidal. She was, overweight. She was wallowing in those, in her past. But when she started to look at things from a different perspective, and she realized the things that she learned through her negative past experiences, she became aware of her full potential and developed it and became the vice president of Disney Radio. And if you would have met her after she was already, the vice president of Disney Radio, you would have thought that, she was probably, from a wealthy family, went to Harvard, Ivy League, or maybe she married into, a successful family. But no, she started from scratch, as you can get, selling shoes at the age of 15.